Understand something. Plain and simple. To me, Abigail was a delicious poison. An intoxicating, overwhelming poison. Yowie wowie! That felt good! Yowie wowie. Let me in.
What is up, everybody? We are back for another episode of Abby's Window, and you know what? We're gonna try to do the best we can to stay upbeat, but we got to get some things off our chest first and discuss some things. But we got a full house right now, and I'm gonna bring this on camera so everyone can see our special guest. So obviously, we've got Abby, Jodie, as always. We've got Joe. And then we are honored to be joined by the one and only, the very talented Mr. Kyle Scarborough. Kyle, how are you this afternoon, my friend?
Doing okay considering the circumstances.
Yeah. Well, let's get there. I'm gonna toss it over to Jodie, and maybe she has a couple questions she wants to ask, but definitely want to get your thoughts on everything. But Jodie, if you've got some questions for Kyle, we'll get going.
Yeah, Kyle and I talk a lot, so I think everybody wants to know from someone a little closer to the source how you're feeling about all of this and kind of what your opinions are, and just kind of go from there, really.
How I'm feeling, certainly as a fan, this was shocking. This is, I didn't necessarily see it coming, but I would love to tell you that I'm not surprised. I think that there's been a frustration, to dispel a lot of internet rumors. The ability to say yes and no in certain companies it varies through certain companies, and people I've seen a lot of pretty bizarre opinions and assumptions about the whole situation. I can say that Bray is extremely protective of what he's done. Mm-hmm. And from the jump, it has been, I think, a constant battle with what he wants to do and what they allow. And, I'm sure that applies to a lot of talent. Matter of fact, I know it applies to certain talent. But what caused this, I don't know. And I won't even begin to necessarily speculate. But, it's difficult, but again, along with not being overly surprised by it, I guess selfishly for me, as in favor of and for him, my gut tells me it's a blessing in disguise. No matter what happens going forward, whether or not he's back with the WWE or he goes and does something else. We've talked so many times in the past about his what he's able to bring to the table, and I've said repeatedly, and it's been echoed numerous times, that his talent, his vision far exceeds what we've all seen, and knowing that he might have the chance to explore that the way he deserves to, I can't find anything but positive feelings about that. It sucks for now, and I know a lot of people are either just confused or downright pissed, and everything in between. And you have a right to be. I don't know what they're doing there. I don't know what the company's decision is in these moments. We all know that budget cuts is totally bull. That's ridiculous. But those ins and outs and those certain details, I don't know. I won't even want to begin to speculate on it. I can only say that a lot of the reports about why he had the time off, and I've seen everything from physical health, mental health, to Brody's passing, and what am I going to say? I'm not going to tell you that Brody's passing didn't affect someone, but is it why he was off TV? I don't know. Is he struggling mentally to where he can't be on? No. When we've talked, I can only say, and I don't want to go, necessarily put his business out there, but to me, he's shot that down. He's like, this, I'm off TV for mental health reasons is simply not true. And that comes straight from him. He's not, he's not sitting at home and has been sitting at home for months because he was unable to do his job. I think that's insulting to whomever kind of started that. Unfortunately, kind of picked up, and he's that's just simply not the case. To think that it's just, and it's not to say that if he was, that it isn't justified or a good enough reason not to downplay mental health issues and what people are going through. But that's not why he's off TV. That just doesn't apply to him right now. So for anyone who is overly concerned about that, I would, to put that to bed a little bit. He's fine.
I think a big thing for us as fans too, like immediately as soon as the news broke, you were the first person I contacted because I was like, oh my gosh, is he okay? Like, yes, it was shocking, but to know that he's no longer with WWE, my first gut instinct was, oh my gosh, is he okay? Like,
right.
And, I'm sure he's mad and disappointed, and this is, probably not what he wanted, but kind of like you said, I think this could be a blessing in disguise. I think now he may have the opportunity to be, like you said to me, when I message you, he's free now. He can do what he wants to do. And everything that you've ever told me about him is how beautiful his mind is, and that he's just a creative genius. And I really hope that now we get to see that a little bit more.
Yeah. Excuse me. I can say, for all the well-wishers and all the support and love that he's gotten from everybody, I can only tell you that he does see it. He does know it. So he's not oblivious to that. And he fully understands that he's got a lot of people behind him. And it's widely known to a lot of people that his fan base is unique in their devotion. And in all my 40 years now, I've never seen a pro wrestler in this position have so many people behind his back and hadn't seen have so much heat come down on a company. And I can express my frustrations, but again, a lot of those behind, I don't know, and I don't pretend to know.
Mm-hmm.
So what more there might be to the story, I have no idea, but I'm not going to speculate either. I just know that he's, if he'll be just fine no matter what he does, and I think that's been why he's such a gravitating kind of figure, is that he's bigger than just the company. What he's able to do is bigger than that. Not to say he's bigger than a company in that, it's making sense. It's his abilities are not defined by the company that he now used to work for. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So as a fan, what would you like to see him do next? I know a lot of us have talked about, does he end up in AEW? Does he go to somewhere like Impact? Does he take some time off from wrestling and go make a movie? What would you like to see him do next as a fan?
But what I like to see him do?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, as a wrestling fan, I could sit here and say I want to see him show up in this promotion and that promotion and do all that stuff. Whether or not he wants to sit and take a year for himself to go and write a book, I could care less. I think a lot of people are they support him and want to see him happy and want to see him be able to explore whatever his imagination takes him. And if that's for some reason not in wrestling, then so be it. But I think that that's what I mean by he's bigger than that. What he's able to do is not just confined to a ring. But I've always thought that he should see and explore what the possibilities are with writing on some level, creating screenplays, graphic novel type comic work. Of course, I'm a little biased with that, but he's got the ability to do so much, and that's just where his creativity's at. And you know, it's not the end of the road at all for somebody like him. If this is it with this company, he's not done.
Good, because we don't want him to be done. I think I said on the show last night that, you know, we would follow him to Timbuktu if that's where he went.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Joe, you have any questions for Kyle?
I mean, I love the comic book thing. I would absolutely love, and you know what? I don't know that. I mean, right away, as wrestling fans, like you said, people think wrestling right away, and he's going to go, like you were saying, he's going to go to any other name of promotion. I would personally love, because I know that he had a little back and forth with the director of that movie I couldn't watch that Jodie was telling me about, because I was yes. The whole I would love if he got together with a director like that, and took like a couple years and did a movie and did it about whatever his story of this is, and the whole, you know, the entire thing, not one piece together or, you know, ripped apart, and not because he can't do certain things, and the actual entire story. That's what I would absolutely love to see. And if he had to go away from wrestling to do it and go do and go work on a movie, I'm perfectly cool with that. I'm there. But I guess I'll ask you is, I mean, and I think you already answered this pretty much anyway, but you know, you were, I guess, as shocked as the rest of us when it happened. Did you kind of have an inkling though? And I just want to know as a fan, because watching wrestling for so long, and when somebody's away like that, and everybody's speculating, you know, where is he? Did you kind of get maybe a bit of a bad feeling about it, that kind of something was up, especially because you had said that, you know, you kind of dismissed the rumors somewhat of them saying, well, he's not at home because of mental health. That's not why. So did you kind of get a feeling that something might have been coming?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard not to. You know, it's again, not putting any, you know, details of any conversations out there, but just to say that, you know, he expressed to me that he's okay, and that's all. You know, it's just simply untrue. That's why he's home. I can't imagine it's healthy for anyone's mental health to be stuck at home or going like this. I mean, how do you come into, and how do you reinvent yourself and create something that took the wrestling world by storm like it did? And you're a fool if you say it didn't. Of course it did. And no matter what position he was put in, he had to constantly, you know, fight this uphill battle. I mean, to me, in my opinion, I think so much of his time with the Fiend character was spent, you know, it's like ice skating uphill. He constantly fighting against the things that were placed in front of him that were out of his control, and he had to make do with it as best as he could. And this is I said it before, it's a testament to where he's at, and he gives and takes and allows certain things, and depending on how they figure that out behind the scenes, and how these characters and what the storylines go and how all that works. I'm not here to speculate on that, but you know, he had the opportunity. I should say he created what he did, and the company had the opportunity to allow that to grow, and it didn't seem like they wanted it to. It seemed like whatever you want to call it, bad booking or what have you, it was always stifled and always kind of held back. So, you know, I still don't understand fully what happened, but just knowing him, when I'm being told that I'm fine, that this stuff is not necessarily true, but yet you're still not back on TV. You know, did I think that this was bad? I don't know if I really would have thought this, but I have my concerns, because it doesn't make any sense. Why would you drop something like that? It only made sense that it would be something medical or what have you, that you would take such a hot character right off of a WrestleMania build-up that you kind of didn't do anything with. And you know, but I got my opinions on that too. But I'll keep it myself. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that's maybe why I wasn't overly shocked when it came out.
Gotcha. One last quick question. I know that Jesse Cage came out and talked, finally opened up a little bit about Cult of Windham. And again, you were involved in that.
Well, yeah.
Any chance he might want to revisit that now that, maybe he's away from the place that kind of held him back from doing it? And I don't even know if you would have heard anything by now because it's so soon or anything like that. But I know he said the project was kind of pushed aside because of certain limitations and stuff. So maybe, something might be revisited down the road.
Well, a lot of that is something that obviously I can't, my involvement was artistic. I was just fortunate enough to kind of be, Bray reached out to me a long time ago with some ideas, and there was actually a lot of sketches and iterations of things we had started, and then you kind of wouldn't hear anything for a bit, and chatter would kind of pick up again. I ended up speaking with Jesse directly, and he and I kind of began working on it because a lot of the administrative side of that, all that kind of handling of the project, a lot of that was with Jesse, as far as I know. And so he was kind of spearheading that. I think the biggest thing that put the brakes on that for a bit was the pandemic at the time. That was all gearing up to go, and then COVID happened. So I don't know what else would have really gotten in the way of that. But then, even though they had done it, and then of course we all saw the fallout of all of the third-party bans that happened around the promotion and people not being able to use their Twitch channels and YouTube channels and so forth. So whether or not it would have even been allowed, even if it had started, if that would have shut it down, I have no earthly idea. And whether or not it comes back, I'm not the person to ask that to. I have absolutely no clue. I know as much as everyone else does as far as that goes, which we saw him say, never say never. And because I know that the little bit I do know that Bray spoke of about what he wanted to do with it was always pretty exciting. But that essentially, the Cult of Windham was a way to explore things that he wasn't able to do with the company. And, so we had to come up with logo ideas and whatnot that could hint at this is Bray Wyatt, this is the Fiend, but you can't use a lot of those elements. You got to be real careful when you're replicating a licensed product. But Jesse of course showed the final logo, what we're going to kind of run with. The sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of forward microphone kind of thing. It was a lot of fun to do, but we'll see. I mean, hopefully, I know that Jesse wants to, and as far as I know, Bray still wanted to. So if this gives him the opening to do so now, then maybe you'll see something. But I'd be speculating. I have no idea.
Very cool. Thank you, sir.
Kyle, I've got one question for you. Obviously, given all the people that are here right now, it's pretty clear and obvious that Bray has meant a lot to a lot of people, and his impact is, the outpouring of, rage and frustration and everything else shows just how behind him people are. But my question for you is, let me just ask you like this. If Bray never wrestles again, and let's say he goes and really does, more of the creative stuff, he writes books or he does movies, what do you think his long-lasting legacy is in professional wrestling?
That's a good question. Few performers have been able to really be labeled as somebody that was a bit of a visionary. Speaking strictly to the, with pro wrestling, you have in-ring athletic showmanship, you have that, and then you have the characters, and you have the storytelling. Bray's abilities as an athlete are fantastic. I think I think almost in a way, I bet his characters have stopped the need or his in-ring stuff necessarily needing to be anything bigger than it was. He didn't have to go out there and try to take crazy bumps everywhere and do a bunch of, his talent and ability was in telling stories and his characters. And we've just seen it time and time again where those things it was being handled by people who didn't know what to do with it, who had no clue what the hell they were doing with something that creative and original. And, the start of the Fiend character was something that was all his. And I think at the time, and this is my opinion, I think at the time that was happening around the startup with AEW. And I think he was in a position to say, hey, this is what I want to do. I don't think the company at the time was in a position to really say no. I've always kind of joked and been shocked by what they've allowed to do. And we talked before about the lantern thing when he wanted a sketch for that and kind of come up with and gave me the layout for that, and then for Jason, everyone to make. I've been shocked at what they've been able to do. So I think that starting out, they gave him the allowance to, like, what the hell, who cares? And then I want to say that was probably the closest thing we ever really saw to true creative freedom, is that he was allowed to do what he did to start. The Funhouse vignettes were handled by Jason and all filmed up there at their studio. So there was someone with the company who was involved to a point, but you know what I mean? He had far more. He was over here doing what he did, surrounded by his people, being able to be creative. And then it caught fire, and then everyone would get their hands involved. And everyone said, well, let's take this over now. Let's control this. Let's do this. And it's like, that's when the screw up keeps happening. And then he finally comes out with something different, and it goes this constant up and down, ebb and flow. So it's frustrating to see that, but I think that's indicative of his ability to constantly regenerate and create himself over and over again. And so his lasting legacy, in my opinion, will be, that creativity and that ability to be a storyteller, and not to be over the top with it. But we see that now with somebody like a Jake the Snake Roberts, who's revered now, and thank God he's cleaned himself up. And we all know that story to this point. But here's someone who was so brilliant at what he did, but unfortunately lost a lot of potential, a lot of time to show that off. And someone like Bray is absolutely in his prime, and I think that legacy. That's what I speak of when I say beyond the company, because his peak is not with the WWE, and that's where his talent lies. So, when that time is over, if he is done with the WWE, or whether he isn't, and if he isn't, good for him. I hope if he goes back, if that's what he wants to do, to go back. This is not a slander on the company. This is not. I don't care. I've always kind of said I don't feel like I work for the companies. I work for the performers. I speak to them directly. I work through them directly. If the company gets involved with it, and the company gets involved with it, but I'm not ride or die for the WWE or any promotion. I want to see him. I'm a champion of him and what he does. So I think the ability and his legacy will be in the creativity and what he's able to do with the storytelling side of wrestling, which is so vital. And I think more and more athletes and talent are now these days are able to explore that. And you give him untapped potential. If he's able to do something where he doesn't have somebody, he has to constantly impress a bunch of out-of-touch board members, then sky's the limit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jody.
Well, thank you, Kyle. I know you're a busy dude, and we don't want to take up too much of your time, but thank you very much for coming on and talking to us.
I appreciate it.
I'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you, Kyle.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
You too. Wow, so that was awesome that we could get Kyle to join us. Thank you so much, Kyle. Again, wow, that's a lot, and I feel like we kind of need to do a separate video to react to some of the stuff that he said, because there was a lot there. But I feel like we got to talk about something else here. I mean, there might be this little elephant in the room that Bray may or may not have broken his silence with the simplest of tweets. And we will go to that right now. So, Joe, I'm gonna let you and Jody kind of handle this, because obviously there was a tweet that was put out there by someone. Joe, you retweeted it and added added some thoughts to it, and just kind of take it from there, and then we'll kick it over to Jody, because if you guys don't know, I mean, if maybe you haven't been on social media, maybe you haven't been around that, but this thing blew the hell up. So, Joe.
Yeah, dude, my mind. I'll tell you the story. So, I'm always up late, no matter what. And I was up late a couple nights ago. It was about 1:30, getting close to 2:00, and I'm just messing around, and I'm looking around, and I was looking at Bray stuff all day long, because I'm just looking for, like you guys, I'm looking for answers. I'm looking for things like that. So I just came across this tweet, and I thought it was interesting. So I read it, and I'm like, I didn't really think of it that way. So all credit to them, and you can see it up on the screen whose it was. for coming up with it and saying it. And then I retweeted it. Again, I read it, I retweeted it, and then pretty much 15 minutes later, I went to bed. Didn't think anything of it. Nothing at all. So I'd been off work for a couple of days. I had an injury I was dealing with, and then I went back to work on Sunday. So this was Saturday night. I went back to work. And it's weird too, because I usually always look at my phone. I'm always usually checking all that stuff and everything like that for everything. And I didn't get a chance. I was running late, and I get to work. And of course, we were like slammed at the store. And so I have no time to look at anything. And the next thing I know, my phone literally explodes. I get messages from this, and I think Jodie's message was the first one I got, but I got messages from everyone, literally everyone. And I'm like, what is going on? And I read Jodie's message, and she's like, he responded to us. And I'm like, who? Like, what? And I'm like, so then I'm right as I'm with it, I'm with two customers, and I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't leave. I can't do anything. Somebody else, I just, I kept getting texts, and then I'm thinking like, and then when I finally realized that like he responded to our tweet, really, like, and then I'm trying to text Jodie back, and I texted her one word answers because it's all I could do. And then I'm thinking to myself, should I tell these customers I have to go like poop really bad and just run to the bathroom at this point? Like, I don't know what to do. So I'm trying, and I'm standing by my computer, and I'm doing stuff there with my, the thing that I'm doing with them. And I'm talking about it like the side like this. And over here, I have my phone on the right side of my face, and I'm looking back and forth and back and forth. So this is a craziness that this was. But yeah, look, when I found out, I was shocked. And look, from my standpoint, and I think Jodie agrees, we talked about it before, and Jeff as well, the tweet is there the way it is. So while we didn't post it, and I would never say we did, it is someone else's tweet, retweeting it with just some comments, because I really thought it's interesting. If you go back and watch, and Jodie can go into more detail about that video, but if you go back and watch that now, it comes off as a completely different thing than it came off to me before. So, but the fact that he responded to us when he didn't have to, he could have very easily gone and responded to the originator. That it blew me away. And he took the time to do that, and this is the only thing he said. And then Jodie will talk to you about the meaning of it and all that kind of stuff. But shocked, and it literally is still going. And now I've got to just send a shout out to all of you that have followed us, that have subbed, the people that have had us on shows and mentioned us by name. See Wrestling, I know What Culture, and there's been other sports, Cultaholic, Sportskeeda,
WrestleMania,
yeah. I mean, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. But I want to thank all of them. And we got the only response that anyone has gotten from Bray on Twitter since this all happened. So if you guys aren't on Twitter, you wouldn't have known. But this is the only response that we've seen from him, and the fact that we got it is amazing. Is absolutely amazing. TOK, Kyle Scarborough is an artist. He's the guy who helped Bray come up with the mask for the Fiend. So he was very involved with the origination of the Fiend. We did our interviews with him before. If you are new to the channel, you can go back in our YouTube channel and check them out. We've done several interviews with Kyle. So, but yeah, mind blown.
Fiend May said maybe he's watching now.
It's possible.
Listen, yeah, go ahead, Jeff, man.
Well, no, I was just gonna say it's possible.
Yeah,
because what I need for people to realize is nowhere in the tweet from the insider's account was Bray tagged.
Nope.
Period. So, maybe he's been keeping tabs, and sir, if you have, we appreciate it. We thank you.
Yeah.
We thank you for responding to us, and that it's unreal. I mean, to have all of these websites tweet this, put this stuff out in articles, and all of these different these YouTubers and content creators who have tons of subscribers and and following, and for them to pick that up too, it says a lot, and we greatly appreciate it. What I want to do is, since Joe, you brought up the promo, what I want to do real quick is play just a brief clip of that promo, and then on the other side of that, Jody, I want to get all of your thoughts. I want to get your initial reaction, because I will tell you guys, Jody reached out to me and I thought she was BSing me. And then I went and looked at it and I was like, holy crap, this is awesome. So on the other side of this, Jody's going to talk about everything, and we will be right back.
No matter what has happened lately, we still have each other. We will always have each other. And as a matter of fact, I feel great. I think this could be a brand new start for all of us here. A new season, new friends, and a brand new me.
All right, Jody.
So I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. Is it possible that, a lot of people were liking the tweet and it just so happened to pop up in the top of his, notification screen, or, that somebody replied and tagged him in it? I don't know. It's very possible that people liked it. Enough people that, when enough people that you follow like something, it'll pop up in your home screen. So is it possible that it just popped up in his home screen and he thought, hey, that's cool, I like it, I'm going to reply to it and mind screw people a little bit, and be real cryptic, which is what Bray loves to do? Is that possible? Sure. But if you look at the facts, he was never tagged in it. There was no hashtags on it. He replied like 12 hours later. I think it was something like 12 hours later. He doesn't follow the show on Twitter. I don't know if that's a WWE thing or if he just hasn't decided to yet. But he does follow me. And obviously our @ is in my profile bio. So, I mean, XYZ, I would like to say that it was intentional and it was his way of throwing us some credit, and without actually saying, hey, these are cool people that I like, go check them out. A lot of things are possible with it. I'd like to see that. I'd like to believe that he did it to us intentionally, because like you said, Joe, he could have gone and replied to the original person that you retweeted, but he didn't. He picked our channel to break his silence. And I think obviously he knew, if it was intentional, obviously he knew that we were going to end up on all these websites and getting a lot of new subscribers. We have 112 people watching right now, which is huge for us. We're a relatively small channel. We don't have millions and millions of subscribers and followers. And so, and I'm seeing a lot of people say in the chat, yes, I think this was intentional too. So, thank you, Bray, for that. That's kind of all I have to say about that.
Absolutely. Mind-blowing stuff, man.
It really is. And, again, we can't thank Bray enough. And as a matter of fact, I think maybe this is a good time. What do you think, Jody, to share a little bit of a thank you video that we put together? What do you think about that?
Go for it.
All right. So without further ado, we're going to play for you a quick little thank you, Bray video. And on the other side of this, we will talk a little bit more about the one and only Bray Wyatt. And, now, since Joe brought it up, I really want to see him in movies. I always wanted that, but I really want to see him in movies now. But on the other side of this, we'll talk a little bit more about Bray and wrap up just our thoughts and yeah. So here it is.
And remember, Fireflies, I'll always light the way. And all you have to do is... let me in.
There we go.
I'm not crying.
You're not crying.
So everybody's saying in the chat too. I know,
No.
right?
Oh,
I got dust in my.
Yeah.
somebody's cutting onions, right? Somebody's cutting onions.
Someone's definitely got onions.
No, I honestly, Bray, what he's done, he's had to reinvent himself so many times, and despite every effort of trying to stifle what it is that he does, in my opinion, maybe not. Maybe they weren't trying to stifle it, but I mean, it sure as hell looked like it.
Yeah.
He continued to get more and more over with the fans. And that's evidenced by the outpouring of support for him since this news broke. Like, that's evident. So, I mean, to say that other promotion screwed up would be a big understatement. And I'll go so far as to say, if they offer him a spot to come back, if it were me, I would say heck no.
Yep.
That's just me, but it's honestly about what makes him happy. And I think if you're a fan of his, I think that's what you want today. So, Joe, I'm gonna toss it to you, and then we'll go up to Jodie. But talk a little bit about what Bray has meant to you, because I know you and I had a similar story with us leaving watching wrestling and then coming back because of this guy. So I want to toss it to you, and then we'll go to Jodie and talk about. I know Jodie's story, but I want other people to hear it if they haven't yet. But just talk a little bit about what Bray means to you.
I have one little mini grievance first that I'm going to air really, really quickly. It'll take 2 seconds. Well, maybe more than. But my one thing is, and I'm just going to put this out there. We all know that WWE has got this character name copyright in. I'm gonna send out a warning, and they have no reason to listen to me, but do not. If you know what's good for you, do not ever put someone else in that costume and try to pass them off.
Oh,
Don't, because I'm going to tell you right now, you think you've lost fans from this incident,
yeah.
you will absolutely get destroyed. And that poor person that you tell to do that will get booed out of the building. I don't care who it is. They will get booed out of the building. So don't
do it.
Let it go. That's all I'm saying. Let it go. And they probably only have the rights for merch. That's what I'm thinking, because they have action figures already planned and this and that and the other thing. So they probably only kept the rights for merch. But don't make that mistake, because let me tell you something. You're losing fans now. You think that's the case? You're going to lose 20 times as much. if you do something stupid like that. So that's that.
I'll be the first in line with
me
that.
too.
I'll just say it now.
That would constitute almost a ban at that point for me. With that,
I think that would constitute most of us getting a bag of dog poop and go setting it on Vince McMahon's front door and setting it on fire.
Yeah, I mean, just don't. That's my little thing. Just don't. Forewarned. What the character meant to me. So I had been kind of. I've been kind of out on wrestling for a while. I used to go to watch pay-per-views over friends' houses and stuff like that, and we enjoyed it. But to be honest, we enjoyed kind of getting together more than the actual shows. And it got a little stale for me. This was after the Attitude Era, in the 2000s and stuff like that. So middle 2000s to late, the early late 20 teens, I guess I'll say. But it just got a little bit stale for me. And we didn't have all the choices we have now. WWE was the only game in town. You didn't have Impact. They were gone. You didn't have, AEW. They weren't there yet. So they were the only game in town. And I was like, yeah, I'm just tired of it. It's the same old thing over and over and over again. You get hooked on a character or whatever it is. They kind of make it go away. And it's like, yeah, I'm done. I got out. And then along comes Bray and the first incarnation of Bray Wyatt. And I absolutely loved it. The Cape Fear character was tremendous. I loved the cult leader thing. It was a horror trope. And then with the Wyatt family, again, just more and more added to that. It was creepy, and I dug it. And I watched just for it. But again, you saw in matches he should have won, he didn't. He should have beaten John Cena, and he didn't. They wouldn't put him over. So then again, the frustration started to set in. You're like, all right, this guy's awesome. Why is he not going where he should go? And then he lost to Taker, and then and then you're like, oh, and it just got frustrating. And then he disappeared. Well, that had been the straw for me. Now I was watching very little before him, and I was like, I'm done. I'm out. And I stopped watching altogether. Didn't turn it on. Now I pay attention to the socials, so I knew about the Funhouse things coming up, and I saw that Instagram post that Bray put out that prior to the Funhouse coming back, and then I got excited. I'm like, "Ooh, this is going to be cool." And then from the first moment of seeing the Funhouse with the dollhouse with Abigail and with everything in there, again, I was like, "Oh my God, this is even better than the last one." And then he started the Funhouse, and I was like, this is fantastic. He's made a Mr. Rogers character, and he combined it with horror. Like, who would ever think of that? Like, who would think of a PBS show that children watch and then combine that with an alter ego that is hideously scary? Like, it's insane. You're going from one extreme to a complete other. And I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. From the first match, we saw him come down the ramp at SummerSlam, which to this day was one of the coolest damn things I have ever seen in wrestling. Carrying that lantern down. And like Kyle said earlier, who the heck would have thought they would allow him to bring something that macabre down to a wrestling ring? It blew my mind. And I'm going to tell you, you see the look on Finn Balor's face. And I sometimes wonder if Finn was really privy to what he was in for and what he was going to see, because that may not have been 100%. Like, if they hid that and then Finn saw that coming down for the first time, he might have been like, oh shit, like what is this? So because we don't know what they show people backstage if they were hiding that, but from that point, I was all in. I was absolutely all in. And then lived through, the thing with Seth Rollins, which was absolutely amazing. And then we got the ups and downs again. And did it scare me? Yes, because it was like I've been there, done that. Like, but we got a lot of highs. He won the title. He had the title for a while. He won it again. And then we because of COVID, we got cinematic matches with it, which were tremendous. So we got to see that. So what it meant to me, it brought me back into wrestling. I hadn't watched, I hadn't cared. And then when they got rid of him again, I thought, here we go. And I stopped again. And but bringing me back, ironically, it led to everybody here meeting. It really did.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and give props where it's due, we all met in Wrestling Days stream. And you guys, if you've watched Days, you know how he carries on when he sees things, and he freaked out when he saw Bray, and rightly so. I mean, we would have as well. But it was a reaction for the ages, and but it brought all of us together. So I guess we could say that it created the show.
Yeah,
it really did. It created the show. So Bray, if you're watching, and like Jeff said earlier, or if you listen, I can't thank you enough, because really, being a fan of yours created this show and got us, knowing some great friends, some great people, some amazing folks, and got us to talk to all of you. And I can't ever be more grateful than I am. I hope we see you back soon in whatever it is that you want to do. You got a more creative mind than I think any wrestler I've ever seen. And it's going to translate into whatever it is you choose to do. So that's what it did for me.
Jodie. I know this is a loaded question.
Oh goodness. So for anybody that doesn't know my backstory, I was never really watched wrestling as a kid. My brother was always into it, and I was aware of certain characters. I knew who Undertaker was, and British Bulldog, and Hulk Hogan, and that was about it, and Ric Flair. But I really didn't watch any wrestling for myself until I met Chris, my husband, and he's been watching wrestling his whole life. And the first match that I ever saw was Bray Wyatt versus Matt Hardy in the Ultimate Deletion match. And immediately I was hooked. I'm like, I like that guy. He's pretty cool. And I just thought, like, they do stuff like this in wrestling, like not in a ring. They're just like in a field. Like, and using lawnmowers, and it was just crazy. And I'm like, I really like this. I really dig it. And then, I started watching, and then he disappeared, and I continued to watch. I mean, I got behind, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins after that. And when the clip came out of the box, the first thing my husband said was, "That's Bray." I was like, "What? What are you talking?" He was like, "I'm telling you, that's Bray. He's coming back." And right when the Funhouse episode started, it was probably one of the toughest years for us as a family. My mom was going through breast cancer treatment, and not long after that, my husband got laid off from his job, and it was just 2019 was just one of those, one thing after another, after another, after another, after another. And we never felt like we got our feet on solid ground at all that year. It was just one thing after another. And Bray kind of kept us going through that. Obviously, not just me and my husband as well. Like, he just kept us smiling. And he was that welcome distraction. And pretty much halfway through the year, I was like, I've got to meet this guy and tell him how much, he's meant to us this entire year, because it's been a hell of a horrible year. And I got to meet him in January, right before COVID hit, and I completely forgot how to talk. I ended up writing everything in a letter. It ended up being like 5 pages long. So sorry, Bray, that you had to read through all that. but yeah, I wrote it all down in a letter, kind of like, just everything that we had been through that year and how much he helped us through it. And I think at one point I said, look, this is going to sound really heavy, but I don't think I'd still be breathing if it wasn't for you. Like, just being able to give us that escape and able to make me smile. And I really needed that year. And, I handed it to him, and he said that, he said, I'll read it once I get inside. I'm not going to read it right now. And I was like, oh God, please don't read it right now. So, yeah. And then about 9 months after that, during this whole COVID era, is when I got to have my video chat with him, and he recognized me just by my name, like 9 months later. And I was like, what? And I think I was in shock at that point too. And then not long after that, he started following me on Twitter, and it was just every single time I feel like I get knocked down, there he is. Instinctively, I don't know if it's just instinctual. I think he's very perceptive, and that goes back to him picking our tweet to reply to. I think he's very perceptive. He sees a lot more than we think he does. He's aware. Even Kyle just said that too. He's aware of a lot more than we think he is, and he sees everything. He reads everything. I think, it's a high possibility at some point, if he's not watching right now, he will at some point. And I love that about him. Even though he's a big superstar, he's accessible. I don't know. He's special. He has this unique way of just being who he is and bringing that to the screen. I mean, he carried that entire company throughout the pandemic. I mean, he brought that cinematic life into WWE, and some of my favorite matches were his matches. I mean, his WrestleMania match with John Cena was amazing. And I don't know, he's just continually been, when I feel like I get knocked down, there he is. Just for whatever reason, he'll like something that I posted on Twitter, or he'll respond to somebody, or, some other fan will say something to me about something he said, or, I'll have very long Skype conversations with C Wrestling on Skype, and we'll talk about things. And he's just always been that happy, joyous person for me. And I'm gonna shut up now.
That's why I'm not sharing my story, because I was barely able to type it in the chat without tearing up. But just know that because of him, I was able to meet not just friends but family, and that's why I'm still here. And I'll just leave it at that. So
he definitely brought us all together too, and there wouldn't be an Abby's Window without you guys. And you guys asked me to come on and talk about just meeting Bray, and it just kind of snowballed into this, hey, we love Bray so much, let's do a show about it every week. And it's just, like I said, he's been this glue that's just held us all together. And you guys are family. And the only thing I can say to Bray is thank you. And I've said it 600 million times to him. He's probably sick of hearing it, but that's all we can say is thank you just for being you, and we love you, and we can't wait to see what you come up with next.
Yeah.
Look at the chat, guys. 200 fans of Bray Wyatt in the chat. Guys, look, you make this show what it is. And I just want to say before we finish up, first of all, from me as well, I have to thank Jeff and Jodie, because they've done an amazing job with this show. And you guys don't understand sometimes, I think, maybe how hard it is for her and Jeff to come up with things sometimes when the guy hasn't really been on TV a lot. It's not easy. So they are out here, week after week after week, entertaining you guys. So I want to thank them. Because they do an amazing job with that. And I, couldn't even imagine. It's like doing something about someone who you're not seeing anything from for months, and yet still keeping it interesting. And also, to all of you 200 people and more who may be watching this video, Thank you all as well from the bottom of my heart and all of our hearts. And if you're new and you have never been here before, and I think we've got some people who I don't recognize,
Right.
You may have come on because you followed us because of the Bray tweet. Thank you very much for doing that. And thank you for coming over to our YouTube channel. And the only thing I'll ask is if you could subscribe to the channel, that would be great. And the reason why, and Jodie's going to tell you that right now, is because this is not stopping. A lot of people were upset, and rightly so, about the whole Bray thing. But then they asked, well, what's going to happen? We had a lot of people say, what's going to happen to Abby's? But Jodie, tell them there's good news on that front. There's good news on that front.
Oh yeah, we're not going anywhere. One of the other great things about Bray Wyatt is he's left us Easter eggs for the past decade. And there's always going to be ways that we can delve into that and explore it. And, there's going to be other opportunities. Like Kyle said, he's not done. There's going to be other opportunities, to have Kyle come back, maybe reaching out to Jason Baker again and having him come back. And, we're definitely not done. I haven't forgotten about the Firefly horror stories too. I definitely still want to do that. Cause I think that would be a really good angle as well to kind of do our own little, Man in the Woods style-esque thing. So that's still in the works too. Things just got a little hectic and it's been put on the back burner a little bit, but we're not going anywhere. We are always going to follow Bray Wyatt and support him, and we're not going anywhere.
That's right. And we have officially hit 2,000 subs, folks.
Wow,
So,
that's awesome.
Thank you, all of you, so much for
Yes.
that. Wow. Now I'm about to start again for a completely different reason. So before I do that, though, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play something, because essentially what all of us have said is that Bray is one of a kind, and he can't be replicated. So I'm gonna play this real quick. We're gonna give some very quick final thoughts, because, folks, if you are new, come back at 7:30. We'll be doing a Raw watch along, so come back for that. We'll be here for that. But I'm gonna play this. We'll come back on the other side, give some quick final thoughts, and then we're gonna head out. So here we go.
That's awesome.
Here we go.
Awesome.
Joe, I'm gonna start with you, and then we'll give Abby the final word.
Like Kyle said, wherever he goes, he's going to be an asset to, whether that is taking a road trip to Hollywood and joining people like The Rock, or, Stone Cold or Cena. If he goes there and we never see him in a ring again, I'm okay with that, because he's going to kill that too. And he could be entertaining us. Listen, film people, especially the creative people, director, producers, they can do that for years and years and years. So I'm perfectly fine with that. If he chooses that he wants to wrestle, it doesn't matter where he goes. New Japan, Impact, Ring of Honor, AEW, it doesn't matter, because, as I said, we're Fireflies and we follow, and we'll be there. So that's it. And thanks, Bray. Thanks, Windham, for everything that you gave all of us.
All right, Abby, floor is yours.
EJ Movement said shout out to Tom McDonald, who is the artist on the music for that little video that I made of Bray. So yes, big shout out to him. I don't even know what to say. Thank you, Bray. Thank you, Windham. It feels really weird to call you that because you'll always be Bray Wyatt to me. We would follow you to Timbuktu if that's what you decide to do. I know that this is not the end for you, and can't wait to see what you come up with next. Thank you to all the new people here. I know we got some of them from Mr. BC Amplified, so thank you guys. Thank you to BC as well. I'm excited for the channel going forward. I think this is going to be a big thing for us, so thank you, Bray, for that as well too. And we love all you guys. Can't wait to see what happens going forward. We'll be here till the end, till the wheels fall off and set on fire.
That's right.
There you go.
That's right. So thank all of you again for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. Like I said, if you're going to watch Raw tonight, we'll be here. We'll be doing a watch along. Come join us. If you're new, we're real laid back. We try to have a lot of fun with it. So just come join us. Have a little bit of fun. You know, kick back and chat amongst friends. So thank all of you so much again. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Windham. It is weird to say that, but thank you, Windham, for all that you've done and uniting all of us. And we're going to be here. And guess what? Next week, we're going to be back for another episode, a brand new, fresh episode of Abby's Window. We're going to start breaking down some of the career. We're going to probably go back to the beginning, I believe. What do you say, Abby?
That sounds good to me.
All right. So thank all of you guys again. Hopefully you join us at 7:30. But if you don't mind, on your way out, drop us a like on the video if you haven't already. And if you are new and you haven't done so already, please subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. And hit that post notification bell so you can be aware of when we're going live, because you never know when we're going to be dropping video or going live. Thank all of you, and we will see you next time.